Hello Internet, welcome to the Empirical Sword, where science plus gaming equals awesome. I'm Lore Master DLC79, and today I want to share why I think video games should not be realistic. And when I say I don't think video games, well, games in general, should not be realistic, I'm not talking about gore, or violence, or blood, or anything like that. I mean, that could be part of it. But really what I'm talking about is the presentation of basically science, physics, chemistry, biology, and the way the world works. Realism is great for immersive gameplay, but it can actually get in the way of the enjoyment of the game. For example, imagine you're playing, Call of Duty, and well, I have to admit I don't really play shooters. I find them monotonous, and that's not something that anyway. Imagine you're playing something like Call of Duty or any other kind of war shooter kind of simulator, and imagine if your character responded to getting shot like a real person would, because in a shooter you're probably getting shot lots and lots and lots of times, and in the real world if you get shot once, depending, you probably just kind of lie on the ground and oh, I've been shot. That would kind of get in the way of playing a war simulator. If your character just started lying on the ground going, ah, you got shot, and you can't do anything. That level of realism would kind of break the intent of the game, which is to present a very fast-paced, actiony, adrenaline rush kind of situation where you just go in and you respond to everything as it's happening, making quick decision. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. That thing's a threat. I need to take it out. That is what the game is trying to simulate. And getting interrupted by being shot and responding realistically would kind of wreck the momentum of that sort of experience. However, a more realistic presentation of being shot would probably work better in a game where that's something that the player should try to avoid at all costs. More of a psychological kind of suspense kind of game. Which kind of brings me to my next point. Using Amnesia as kind of a case study, where if you stand in the darkness too long, you begin to go insane, and the screen gets all kind of wibbly and messed up, and eventually that will kill your character. But if you stay in the light too long, the monsters will come and eat you, and that also kills you. And if you're hiding from a monster, I think they're called monsters. I'm not really sure. It's been a while. But if you're hiding from a monster, you need to know when it's not there anymore. So you need to look at it, but if you look at the monsters too long, you just start to go insane, which will eventually kill you. But if you don't know the monster's not there, you don't know what it's safe, so you can just stay in the darkness too long. So now the player's like, okay, I need to stay in the light to not go insane and die, but if there are monsters, I need to stay in the dark, which could drive me insane and kill me. So the player is having to constantly balance all of these things, to stay alive, but all of them can get the player killed. So the player winds up in this very uncomfortable situation of having to balance things almost like a razor's edge, which puts the player in a very uncomfortable position where the player is always on edge, and which is essentially what the game is trying to do. It's trying to mess with your psychology to make you feel uncomfortable, which is kind of what scary games are all about. But another game that I want to draw attention to is chess. And yeah, I know I focus a lot on video games, but it's science plus gaming equals awesome, not just video gaming. Some people think that chess is too realistic because the pieces are named king and queen and knight and bishop. But why the king and the queen are both people? Why does the queen get to move so far in one turn, but the king can't? I mean, we can rationalize that with the king has the responsibility of commanding all of these people, so he can't move all that much. He's busy commanding. Well, okay, what about the bishop? The bishop's also a person. Why can't the bishop move like the queen? And what is a rook anyway? Is that like an archer, or is it a siege engine? And why does the knight have to move only on these specific points, but can't move to any of these points in between them. Some people just have very literal people have trouble reconciling that it's an abstract game. It's supposed to be about pure tactics and pure strategy, and just naming these pieces after real things, it kind of creates a mental block for some people that prevents them from enjoying the game. So too much realism, and I'm really okay. Chess may not be too realistic, but for some people it is too realistic. But too much realism can actually make the game not enjoyable, which actually brings me to my next point about a game that I tried to design myself. I called it a 3D space shooter RPG exclamation point. It was supposed to be a 3D space shooter where basically I designed it too realistically using Newtonian gravity and thermodynamics. And anyway, travel time between planets. I mean, actually, I didn't even fully develop it, really. I did some calculations on paper, and the travel time between planets and just orbital maneuvers would take so long that I didn't even want to play this game, and I hadn't even developed it yet. I mean, I had partly developed it, but I just saw that it would be very, very unentertaining to most people because it would take weeks of real time to get to the next planet over, and nobody would want to do that. So also on the note of the game that I intended to develop but completely abandoned, sometimes realism just can't be done for technical reasons. For example, in my 3D space shooter RPG exclamation point, I could not have a realistic speed of light, because some objects would be like light hours, light weeks away from the player, wherever the player would be. So the game would have to remember in memory, in RAM, where everything was at specific points in time. So that because the speed of light is finite, we never see what things are right now. We see what and where they are or were days ago, weeks ago, depending on how far away they were, even decades ago, years, billions of years ago in the case of galaxies. So the game would have to store all of that data somewhere, which takes data away from, or data space away from other things that would make the game more interesting. So I had to make the speed of light infinite so that the player can see is essentially seeing everything as it is right now, and there's plenty of data space for lots of interesting things out there, or would have been had I continued with the project, which I didn't. Maybe one day I'll pick it up again and try to make it more fun if it's possible, but that's daydreaming. Anyway, the overall point for the entire video is in future videos when I point out that games aren't realistic in this aspect, or this game isn't realistic. It's not me saying that games should be realistic, because I really don't think games should be realistic. I think developers should have the freedom to invent their own rules of reality to make the game fun and enjoyable, or stressful in the game in the case of survival horror games. But yeah, I'm not saying that games should be realistic, because they should not. They should be fun. When I point out when games aren't being realistic, I'm really pointing out or trying to start a discussion on science or game design or both, really. So yeah, just pop down into the comments and throw around your ideas about this topic on how realistic should games be, and how important is fun versus realism. Can realism even be fun? I know in the game I tried to code, no, realism could not be fun with that game. But perhaps with other games it could be. So yeah, just do that. But amazingly, that's the first blooper of the entire video. And okay. If you like this video, then why not hit that like button? In fact, even if you didn't like this video, why not hit the like button anyway? Just to be nice, you can call it your good deed for the day. But if you really did like this video and you want to see more like it, then why not hit the subscribe button? Then my videos will just show up in your subscription feed. And you know what? If you have any kind of feedback at all, leave a comment. If you thought I did something wrong, or you've got something wrong and you want to let me know in a constructive, positive manner, then leave a comment. If you thought I did something really right and you want to congratulate me, leave a comment. If you have suggestions for future content, leave a comment. In fact, if you just have a simple question like what I had for breakfast, leave a comment. I can't promise that I'll answer all of them, but I will definitely try to read all of them. So until the next video, goodbye.